Friday of every month. This is a very special Friday because we are celebrating the month of Adar, which begins tonight. And it is also some people's New Year's. I understand that there's something called the New Year of the Ox. It's beginning tonight as well. But we have, of course, the most difficult task that Jews are faced with. We are supposed to celebrate the month of Adar with a sense of simcha, with a sense of joy, with a sense of optimism. And that's a big task, even in good times for Jews. And so we are doubly burdened. What a difficult thing it is to think about the possibility of a sense of simcha. My favorite group of Hasidim have a little ditty that they sing. Excuse me, Cantor, if I sing just a little bit.
Is it Misha Ninchas Adar?
Well, no. It's
okay.
Something that's a little different. It goes something like this. Da 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 da. Mitzvah gedola liot besimcha, liot besimcha tamid. It is a great mitzvah to be in a state of simcha, always, perpetually. Now, that's a challenge. If I told Jews that the lachrymose opportunity is the more prevalent one, we would immediately know what to do. But my job is not to teach you Hasidic ditties. I leave that to the cantor, who's going to start our service with, I think, Misha Nichnas.
I am indeed. This was taught to me long ago at 5:30 this afternoon. But I understand Shana learned it a little earlier than that, so we'll see how we do without Shana sitting next to me. Misha, 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 Nichnas Adar. Misha, 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 Nichnas Adar. Misha, Nichnas Adar, Marvin besimcha. Misha, Nichnas Adar, Marvin besimcha. Misha, 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 Nichnas Adar. Misha, 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 Nichnas Adar. Misha, Nichnas Adar, Marvin besimcha. Misha, Nichnas Adar, Marvin besimcha. Which basically says, in the month of Adar, be joyful.
Right. So now that we're burdened with this very important opportunity, I want everybody at a certain point in the service to be thinking about their very best joke. And we will share that tonight. We're also looking forward to joining forces with several congregations for Purim night, and that will require people finding their jester hats and so forth. So it's a big deal. You'll have to bake and do all kinds of things to get ready for Purim. Madam President.
So I want to know, Andrew, you can pass this on to Rabbi
Yes.
Shana, as well as I live a a mile or less from the Brady house. Do you need any photos?
Yes, please. I can speak on behalf of Rabbi Shana, given that I am the technical department for the Purim Spiel. And as you may have guessed from what Karen said, we are doing a very Brady Purim. Wear your 70s wide collars and get as drunk as you can on whatever they drank in the 70s. Slivovitz always works. So yes, if you can take a couple of pictures and send them to me, Karen, that would be marvelous.
Okay. Yeah, I hope they'll let
Excellent.
me. There are guards there day and night.
Goodness. Well, just pretend that you work for the Google Street View people. Just drive past slowly and.
Right, we better move
So
on.
we still want to turn now to the Sabbath, and this is an opportunity for us to welcome the Sabbath. Cantor, if you would like to introduce us to some of the Sabbath psalms that will take us to the Baruch Hu.
Absolutely, Rabbi. Thank you. I will do a quick insert. Were we to have a Saturday morning service on Rosh Chodesh, which is where we are now, the first day of Adar, as of just a little bit ago, you would be treated to the short Hallel, which is only about 6 pages of prayers. Because it is the evening, you're going to be treated to one prayer. But just a good inclusion to have here, this is Psalm 115, which starts off with, Adonai is mindful of us. God will bless us. God will bless the house of Israel. God will bless the house of Aaron. God will bless those who fear Adonai, small and great alike. Adonai zacharnu yevarech, yevarech et Beit Yisrael, yevarech et Beit Aharon, yevarech yirei Adonai, hatanim im hagolim, Yosef Adonai alechem, alechem ve'al b'nechem, baruchim atem l'Adonai, עושה שמיים וארץ, השמיים שמיים לאדוני, והארץ נתן לבני אדם. לא המיתניה הללויה, ולא כל יורדי דהומה, ואנחנו יברכיה מעתה ועד עולם. Hallelujah.
Thank you, Cantor, for a taste of Hallel. And we turn now to the songs of the Sabbath, welcoming the Sabbath. And I notice you have some Shabbat candles behind you there.
I do indeed. So that is a good place to start. If you have not yet lit your Shabbat candles, please do. If you have already lit them or you do not have them with you, just think of 2 nice, beautiful, bright lights in your heart. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kirshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu להדליק נר של Shabbat. And we will turn over to Psalm 95, the words of which say, "Go forth, singing songs of joy to the Eternal. Let us shout to our Savior. Let us turn to Hashem with thanks. Let us shout to Hashem with a joyous song. Lechu neranana." Lechu neranana, lechu neranana, lechu neranana, l'Adonai. Lechu neranana, lechu neranana, lechu neranana, l'Adonai. Naria, naria, letzu yishenu, מקדמה פניו בתודה. נריע, נריע, לצו ישנו, בזמירות נריע לו. לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה לאדוני, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה, לכו נרננה לאדוני.
Roger, is that a drum you've invented? Can't hear it. Okay, if you can make it to coordinate with the.
You want to hear it?
We're not
Roger is
picking it
further
up.
demonstrating that you can get anything on Amazon, including a drum.
That's right.
Right. We continue
So I
with
was-
our Psalms.
Yes, we will go to Psalm 98. It says, sing to Hashem with the lyre and the voice of the psalm, with trumpets and the sound of the shofar, make a joyful noise before the Lord, the King. Zamru ladonai. Zamru ladonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra, b'chatzotzrot v'kol shofar. Ari lifnei hamelech Adonai, Hiram hayam umlo, Tevel veyoshveva, Neharot imcha uchav yachad, Harim yeranenu, Lifnei Adonai kiva, לשפוט הארץ, ישפוט תבל בצדק, ועמים במשרים, ירם הים ומלואו, תבל ויושביה, נהרות עמך וכף יחד, הרים yeranenu.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We turn now. I'm going to ask you to put on screen our Baruch Hu and invite people to rise as we join together for the call to worship.
And actually, the Baruch Hu we don't have on the screen, but I think we're all pretty well off book. And I'm going to ask Eli to raise the camera. Here we thank you, Eli. Yai la 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 yai la 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 yai la 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 yai la 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 yai la la Baruch Hu et Adonai Amevorach Baruch Adonai Amevorach Amevorach Le'olam va'ed Amevorach Amevorach Le'olam va'ed.
Thank you, Cantor. We continue with the blessings that mark the regularity of nature, our awareness of our being part of a pattern of life that is marked by day and night, we join together in the blessings that lead us into the prayers of the Shema.
We'll start off with the Ma'ariv Aravim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro Ma'ariv Aravim. B'chokhmah poteach she'arim u'vitvuna meshane itim u'machalif et hazmanim u'mesader et hakochavim. B'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono barayom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or u'ma'avir yom u'mevi layla u'ma'avdil ben yom u'ven layla. Adonai Tzevaot Shemo, El Chai V'Kayam, Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Leolam Va'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai, Amari V'Aravim.
Amen.
Rabbi, I was thinking we should go to Ahavat Olam.
Yes,
Celebrate
and
the
I
love.
think we need a very strong dose of Ahavat Olam at this moment. So please.
We do indeed. So this is the most upbeat Ahavat Olam I have. Ahavat
this is Beth.
Olam.
We're on the phone.
Beit Yisrael. Amcha ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot u'kim u'mishpatim. Otanu limadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shokbeinu u'v'kumenu nasiach b'chukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך יומנו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה. כי הם חיינו ואורך יומנו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה. באהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו Israel.
We join together in the words that mark the.
Don't do that. I never had to get it back.
Join together in the words that mark the notion that our people is brought together by a faith that takes us generations and generations of people that have sworn their faithfulness to the idea of the divine that is not seen, but unites us in the sense of the divine presence. We join in the words of the Shema on our screens now. Our custom is to rise, and we invite everyone to rise.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
We join together in the words of the V'ahavta, speaking of the holy dailiness of every life and our responsibility to create a sense of the holy in all that we do that's daily and routine, but so necessary to make us aware of life's precious moments.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, הייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוציא אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem, amen. Please join me in reciting the words of the Shema in English, which were just on our screen, and maybe we can get them back. There we go. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them on your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus shall you remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God. We continue with the Micha Mocha on the next page, the prayers of redemption that celebrate the movement of the Jewish people out of Egyptian bondage through the trials and tribulations, the miraculous events of the parting of the Red Sea, which is celebrated with Micha Mocha.
באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נעדה בקודש, נורא תהילתו ספר, נורא תהילתו ספר. מלאכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלינו ואמרו, זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. נאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Thank you, Cantor, very much for leading us now to the prayers of the Amidah, which we'll have on our screen in just a moment. And we, as is our custom, recite the first three prayers together, which will be led by the cantor, and then we'll continue silently to the end of the Amidah. Please join with the cantor.
Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומר חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממיד ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן נתן לחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Invite everyone to join together in the prayers that are on the screen as we have some moments of meditation, and we'll come back together as a congregation to sing Shalom Rav.
שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
We'll join together now in the words of Oseh Shalom.
And we'll do, because this is a Shabbat where we are commanded to be joyful, we will do a joyful Oseh Shalom. Start a little slow and work our way into it. Oseh Shalom bimromah, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu me'al kol Yisrael me'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru Amen. Oseh shalom bimromah, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu me'al kol Yisrael me'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru Amen. Hey, Oseh shalom bimromah, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru Amen. I think you need to unmute, Rabbi.
I'm going to share with you a cartoon as a kind of introduction to our reflections for tonight. A priest, I hope everybody can see it. A priest, a rabbit, and a minister walk into a bar. The bartender asks the rabbit, "What will you have?" The rabbit shakes his head and answers, "I have no idea. The only reason I am here is because of autocorrect." So I thought that might be the appropriate way to introduce some rather serious reflections. Normally during this month of Adar, on the Sabbath before Purim, which will actually be the next Sabbath, it's customary to observe the Sabbath known as Shabbat Zachor, in which we read a rather significant Torah portion that reminds us to remember what Amalek did to us when we went out of Egypt. And then the passage says in very interesting and very contradictory fashion, Zachor et Amalek al tishkach. Remember Amalek, don't forget. Blot out the memory of Amalek, don't forget. Zecher Amalek al tishkach. How do you blot out the memory? How do you remember? That seems to be a contradictory idea. Just this week in a Polish court on Tuesday, we had a rather interesting and complex court case. I've sent everybody that is interested, I think, the best summary article of what are volumes of articles that have appeared all over the international press and certainly in the Israeli press about the trial. So if you lose the thread of what I'm saying, perhaps you'll refer to the article. I suspect that by Sunday, there'll be something written in the press in America. What is at issue is two historians. One of them happens to be a friend of mine, a man by the name of Jan Grabowski, who I met while I was working in Poland. And we actually went to a barbecue. Such things happen in Poland. And we had a wonderful hour and a half conversation to the barbecue and back, because the barbecue was held at his sister's house in the country. He is a very serious historian, teaches at the University of Ottawa, has written a number of books about the history of Jews during the Holocaust, and is considered one of the experts. His first most important book, it's a short book, describes a period of time after 1943 during World War II, when the ghettos were being liquidated. People were being sent to either work camps or to their death. And this became a very desperate time. And thousands of people began to search for a place to hide. And he describes in his first book one county in Poland, what happened in that county. In the book that's at issue in this trial that took place on Tuesday, which is a far expanded what's called micro history, looking at what happened in small cities and counties. They document the process of what happened to Jews in the same period of time all over Poland, with 7 historians working collaboratively. And the book is a book that is being translated. It'll be out in English. I'm sure everybody will want to get a copy. It's a quick read. It's 1,700 pages. It's a tremendous contribution to the scholarship. Part of what the book attempts to do is to address the question of what happened to some 200,000 Jews that managed to get to the forest, that managed to go into hiding, and managed some way or another to survive the summer of 43. But by the summer of 44, they were no longer alive. One of the things that Grabowski and his colleagues have shown is that most of those people were not aided by the Polish local population, but instead they were often turned into the SS. They were often captured by what's called the Blue Police. This was Polish policemen who were under the aegis of the SS, but who often acted quite independently and quite with a lot of initiative on their own part. Now, for some people, this is not a surprise. This is a history that is perhaps known. But what is a surprise is that the government of Poland 2 years ago agreed that this kind of research would be able to go on. They had objected. I think some of you may have remembered that there was a big international furor, and there was supposedly an agreement that research would be allowed. What the nationalistic government of Poland is claiming is that these historians have set out to diminish the good name of Poland, that their history is falsification, and that this history is essentially anti-Polish. Well, on Tuesday, after a week-long trial, a Polish court declared that they would have to apologize for supposedly besmirching the name of one person who was the mayor of the town, and a series of witnesses. I'll let you read the details in the article. Essentially, what has happened is that alongside of what happened in the trial, there was a very active media campaign. I would say a media frenzy. So it was not just someone who sued someone for a mistake that may or may not have been in the text of the book. I actually have read this and had people translate the text with me, and I think there is no mistake. I think there's simply the process of the undermining of the Constitution of Poland and all of the associated institutions of the media, the courts, and so forth. Very serious issue, and that the nationalism is being used as a way of besmirching not only women, and I'm sure you've heard of the issues around women's reproductive rights in Poland, which is a separate issue, but actually related in many ways, as the right wing uses the civil courts. This is what's unusual. And they do this by actually supporting individuals who want to bring civil suits against people. And so there's going to be quite a bit of furor in the next, I would say, year or two, because this is going to have a chilling effect on researchers who want to do research for history. Jan Grabowski actually is of Jewish origin. His father was Jewish. Barbara Engelking is not of Jewish origin. She is of Polish Catholic origin. Of the other 5 historians involved in this project, none of them have any what we describe in Poland as Jewish roots. They're professional historians who've written about this. So we have, if you will, the struggle over academic freedom, the struggle over people using nationalism as a way to shape the history of, or reshape and frankly tell fabrications about the history of the country. And as a person who works in Poland, one of the things that we've had as part of the reality for the Jewish life that we try to support and maintain is tremendous two-way reaction, a desire to be less public with being Jewish, and the largest number of people who have ever signed up for our Introduction to Judaism class. We have now 30 people who are studying to convert to Judaism. These are often people who have a Jewish grandparent or a Jewish association somewhere. Sometimes they're just people who feel that they want to connect. There are, after all, 6 million souls that are wandering, and reasonable that many of them would connect. So it is, as often happens in history, a mixed picture. And in the coming months, I invite you to all stay tuned. The organization that I helped to start and is launching a series of programs called Freighted Legacies. That is, that we are connected to the history of Poland. It is very much important for us to not walk away from the history of that country. Every major issue that we're involved with in Jewish life, from neo-Hasidism of the Hasidic masters like Zalman and Arthur Green, to the work of every form of Zionism and socialism, theater, drama, literature, Hebrew, Polish, Yiddish, is rooted in the Polish experience. And we're going to celebrate that in the series of programs known as Freighted Legacies. So my message is that there are difficulties not only in America with our impeachments and things, but the liberal democracies are under seizure, under attack in all quarters, and that those of us who understand the significance of what happened in this country the last 4 years should appreciate that there is a similar struggle going on in Poland. In Poland, I would argue that probably the forces are very much like here in America. Something like 55-45. So that 45% of the population wants to move into the modern world, wants to come to reconciliation with their past, wants their history to be understood but not used as a tool for nationalism, and wants to recognize the problems of the past and to move forward. The parallels are so profound and significant. And on what will next week be Shabbat Zachor, we as a people have to think about how do we learn this history and not become overburdened by it? How do we see it and not have it paralyze us because we have a responsibility and a horizon that demands that we participate in its understanding. So I wish all of you a Shabbat Shalom. I actually want to conclude with a phrase that appears twice in our Torah portion, this week's Torah portion, that I think, for me anyway, is one of the foundations of why we are concerned about history and the correct telling of history. It's the phrase, you were strangers in the land of Egypt. You know the heart of the stranger. Of course, this is the most commonly repeated phrase, but I think it's also the most significant moral charge that everywhere where we have been, we have experienced the threat of being branded as a stranger and excluded. And therefore we have, I think, a special connection to the ethical responsibilities that emerge from understanding what it means to care for the other. I wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom, and we will have more Purim shtick tonight. At this point, I'd like to invite our cantor to share with us one of the songs that he was preparing for our service before we go to the Aleinu.
Thank you, Rabbi. actually had shifted gears away from that particular song
Okay.
as will come up. So if I may, taking a little bit of a thing from watching Congress in action, I will yield my time for the moment to the gentleman from Aleinu to reserve my song for the end of the service, if that is all right with you, sir.
Sure. Let's then rise for the Aleinu, please, as it comes up on our screen.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. מה אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Excuse me. Welcome everyone to please share with us names of people that they are praying for the Mishaberach, which we'll recite in just a moment. As I call on your name, would you just unmute and share names of people that are of concern to you? I would notice that Dottie Goldstein has two screens open, so we'll ask Dottie to share it twice when we come to you. So Sue, could you please share people you're praying for who are ailing?
My niece Brooke Riva and my cousin Jean Abravaya.
Thank you. Polly?
Mikiko, my sisters Pat Sachs and Diane Warco.
Roger?
Claude Muradi.
Mitzi?
Everyone who is suffering from COVID-19.
Renee?
My daughter, Elise Leonti.
Karen?
Suzanne Joyce, Rachel Furman, Izzy and Jane Broger.
Sherry?
Rob Block and Julie Paul.
Julie, I know that you're not a stranger to us, but we welcome you. And I know that you're wanting to say Kaddish in a little bit, but perhaps there are people you would like to mention as well.
Yeah, I have quite a few. Gary North, Caitlin Ruda, Kieran Rana, Robert Devine Shriver, and Bob Chase.
Thank you. Lynn? Lynn, are you there with us? I think Lynn is not quite with. Alan, would you like to share names? Okay. Claudia?
Al Westernberger.
Thank you. Randy?
Two fellow colleagues, Dr. Farouk, both he and his wife.
Thank you.
And for Randy too, I think.
Well, I'm doing good. I haven't got my smell and taste back, but I'm not coughing and I'm breathing fine. Thank you very much.
Dottie?
My son, Steve Goldstein. What's going on?
Mike's on.
Why aren't they seeing me?
Can't hear you, Haim.
We've lost your sound, even though you're not on mute. Nope.
Can't hear you.
The bug of Zoom has come to bite us again. I hate to say it, Rabbi, you may need to go out and come back in. It seems like the microphone turned itself off.
How can this happen to a rabbi?
There it is. No.
We lost you again, Rabbi. I will. Well, as we've lost the rabbi, I know that he is holding his brother Bob Beliak in his heart. And I don't know if there is anyone else to add for the rabbi.
There's one other person that I'd like to add. I did not say her name. Gladys Diener, who I have known since I was about 2 years old. Holding her in prayer.
I know the rabbi would also like to mention Richard Atkins, and I will mention Rabbi Steve Robbins and Michael Haim. Avotenu mekor habracha ve'imotenu, may the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Thank you, Cantor. At this time, we'd like to share the names of people who we're reciting Kaddish for. I'd like to turn to Sue Nevins, who is going to share with us about one of our members who passed away and whose daughter is with us, and would love to be informed about her and her recent passing. And we don't hear her. I'm going to take the chance and have Julie maybe share with us. Maybe that'll work.
Not in your box, but down below.
What'd she say?
Julie, why don't you go ahead?
Okay. Well, my mom, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My mom was a member of Beth Ohr for many years, and until 2012, when she moved to out in Rancho Cucamonga to an assisted living place near my brother and his wife. And my beloved husband of blessed memory, and I used to visit my mom and come to the synagogue when Rabbi Roth was the rabbi, and it was always delightful. And I actually loved Beth Ohr so much that when I was looking for a congregation, I live in Oakland. I'm actually here in Southern California right now, but when I was looking for a congregation, I decided I wanted something like this. I was able to find a wonderful Jewish renewal congregation in the Bay Area, Beliak Community Synagogue. And so I was inspired by my mom my parents, and then mostly my mom after my dad passed, sticking with and loving Beth Ohr. And my mom was Bernice North, and she was a wonderful, wonderful, sweet person who was inspiring in many different ways. She was giving. She was a lifelong learner. She was content with the life she led. She didn't always want more. And she was an inspiration to me. And she passed on January 23rd at 94 years old. And I was blessed to be with her for almost every minute of the 48 hours before she passed, and right up until she passed. And so thank you so much, Sue, for inviting me to come to this service and to say Kaddish for my wonderful mom. And thank you, all of you who knew her and loved, have kept in touch with my brother and me.
So Sherry, Sue, Karen attended the Zoom service and wanted to be sure that you were a part of one of our services. We're very appreciative of you being with us tonight. And I did hear about your mom as one of the people that was always very committed to the congregation, and would often drive people here and there when they needed a ride, and was a very important and now missed part of our community. I know that
when she could no longer drive.
Yeah, I know that Sue has tried to get onto another. Let's see if that works, Sue.
All right. Oh, it's an echo, right?
So hang up on one.
Hang up on one.
Okay. There we go. All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm really sorry about that. I don't know what happened. So now I'm on my cell phone. Thank you, Julie. Didn't mean to put you in a position there without having someone speak about her first. But I would just like to share that Bernice was someone we had the great pleasure to have with us for so many years. And sometimes someone as a friend, and sometimes someone as a congregant. And we enjoyed her friendship both. And the minute we would walk into services, she was there with a lovely smile on her face, and she had the cutest kind of giggle, and she was so willing to be an active member of the temple. She was someone who was in charge of our phone tree at one time. She was our tribute chairwoman. She was an organizer of Oneg Shabbats. And I don't know that she'd ever done those things before somewhere else, but she was always willing to take on that kind of a challenge. And she had all those great years at Pierce College. She had a successful professional life, certainly a successful life as a parent. Witness her daughter Julie and her son Gary. And we just really felt her warmth, and we just really will always miss her and never forget. And I don't know if Sherry or Polly or Karen want to add anything, but we're so glad that you're with us tonight, Julie, to remember her.
Thank you all. Thank you all. I'm wondering if there are other names that we'd like to share for a yahrzeit memory.
Yes,
Polly,
my father, Boris Warko.
thank you. Claudia,
My mother, Marta Koner, and my father, Frank Koner.
thank you. Roger,
My mother, Fern Schwartz.
okay. Mitzi, Mitzi. Oh, you were just raising your hand.
Oh,
Okay,
I'm sorry, my bad. My mother, Judith Jacobson, and my father, Marcus Jacobson.
thank you. Thank you. I invite everyone to rise as we put the Kaddish on the screen and to join together to remember our loved ones. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah v'yalma divrach chirotei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'mechon v'chayei lekol Beit Yisrael v'agalav zman kariv v'yimru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam ulmei olmaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shmei dekusha b'richu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiram v'yalma v'imru Amen. Yehei Shlomo Rabba min Shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, and to all who pray for peace, and let us say, Amen. Cantor?
Well, I don't want to shift the mood too much, but I will. As the rabbi said at the very beginning, Adar is the month of joy, and we are commanded to be joyous. So with that in mind, for only the second time ever in the history of anything, I will present this version of Adon Olam. It's the tune I hope you will recognize, and in part, I guess you could say it's a tribute to my parents, at whose house it is currently 1 degree. For those of you who have dogs and you know how warm they are, something like that would be known as a 3-dog night. Adon olam Hashem alach, b'terem kol yitzir nivra, le'ed nasa v'chefzo kol, zay melech shemo nikra, zay melech shemo nikra, ve'acharei kichlot hakol, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה. שבת שלום, שבת שלום, שבת שבת שלום, שבת שלום. והוא אחד ואין שני, לעם שלו להחמירה. בלי ראשית, בלי תחתית, ולא העוז והמשרה, ולא העוז והמשרה. והוא אלי וחי גואלי, וצור הבלי בעת צרה. והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, ונקוסי ביום אקרא, נקוסי ביום אקרא. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Be'ado afki ruchi, be'etishan be'aira, be'im ruchi gaviati, Adonai li v'lo ira, Adonai li v'lo ira. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. One more time and Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Very nice. We're inviting everyone to stay around. I've prepared a virtual version of my Slivovitz, and I'm going to pass it out to everyone tonight so we can make Kiddush over the right stuff for Shabbat, and wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom. I do want to check in. How are people doing with getting shots? Has everybody got their first shot?
I got my second shot yesterday.
So did I.
So did Joel.
Good, good. Any second shotters? Good, good.
I'm still on the wait list.
Oh, you're a youngin. You don't.
That's right. That's right. I'm way down there.
Did you have your second one, Con?
I have my second one, and the worst side effect was I had a bad dream. I dreamt I had not turned in 100 notes for my hospice work, and they were taking me into a small room where nobody was masked, and I was in trouble. Renee, did you get your second shot? First shot?
Renee?
Good, good. So wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom, and people would like to stay around and chat. Julie, we're very appreciative of you joining us tonight. Wish you much support and consolation of the loss of your mom, and you're welcome to come join us. Beth Ohr is still here, and we're chugging along.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad you're there.
Now, I don't think anybody knows this, but we should say that Julie is also working as a cantor in her congregation.
Well, I'm learned by the seat of my pants cantorial soloist for the last many years. For gosh,
We love
I guess
Cantorial
20
Soloist.
years, but we actually have a cantor.
Okay, okay. Where in Oakland are you?
We're right on the border of Oakland and Piedmont, and that's where the synagogue is. And actually, our rabbi, Dev Noily, was raised at Beth Ohr.
Was raised where?
At Beth Ohr.
Really?
I knew.
Wow. See? I think we should make you and Dov honorary members and increase our membership